All right. Hello, everyone. Let's see who is here early today. I am so excited. Let me know in the chat if you're able to hear me and see me. I'm just doing a sound test right now. Wonderful. All right. Give me a like if you're able to see me and hear me. I know I'm early here and I see a few people joining, which is exciting. Oh my goodness, a lot of people who are joining early. I'm so excited. As you are joining, let me know in the chat, what is your biggest frustration when it comes to landing your dream job? Let me know in the chat. I'm very curious to know. And by the way, if you are experiencing technical difficulties, I highly recommend that you do not maximize your screen. If it glitches, refresh. Just do me that favor. All right, let's see who has. Oh my goodness. All right, people are joining. Wonderful. Awesome. I am not going to sign into my LinkedIn because if I do that, it's going to mess everything up and it's going to lag. All right. So let's try this today. And I see people sharing their biggest frustration when it comes to landing their dream job, passing the ATS. Oh my goodness, we are so going to talk about that. Being able to sell myself. I can totally understand that as someone who has been raised in a very conservative, environment where I was taught to constantly be humble. Not being able to grow the corporate ladder, now being able to grow the corporate ladder. Totally get it. That glass ceiling on top of her head. And I'm curious, Alia, what do you feel is standing in your way from growing the corporate ladder? I'm so curious. Hello, hello. Seattle, getting coasted, getting I obviously am struggling with pronouncing things today. Getting ghosted by recruiters after they reach out excitedly. We're definitely going to talk about that. Excellent insights. Love it, everyone. We got 4 minutes left before we get into the live, and I'd love to hear more of your frustrations in order for me to address them and keep them in mind. Focus on them because this session is for you. It is here to help you. So help me help you. All right. Who else wants to share their frustrations? Hello, Eric. I'm so excited that you're here too. What are your biggest frustrations when it comes to landing your dream job? I am very curious to know. Share with me in the chat. Okay. As people are sharing, I am going to get started. Let's see here. Okay, wonderful. So today we are going to talk about how to overcome imposter syndrome and land your dream job. And I'm being very, very scrappy here by saying in this crappy market. If I had $1 for every single person who shared with me how the market is bad, I'd be a millionaire. I think we're all in the same boat, right? With the economy. And so it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. And this is why it's important that we have the right strategies in order to stand out. Wonderful. Adopting general skills to pivot roles. Okay, beautiful. All right. Okay. So I have a question for you all. And by the way, my sessions are very collaborative because I totally believe that when people participate, the knowledge sticks in their head. So I invite you, if you're distracted, if you have, your television on or you're texting, take your phone, put it away. Tell yourself that you are loving yourself today and doing something for yourself in order to up-level your career, and participate so that you learn and this doesn't end up yet another learning that you attend and do nothing with. Okay? So, my big question for you is, what do you value the most in your career? Let's see what everyone says. I am so interested in seeing what is the thing that you value the most in your career. And I'm just going to say life and career as a hint for everyone. Come on. Share with me. Financial growth. Thank you for sharing. What else? I'm sure that people have a lot of insights and want to share what else brings them value in their career, because I'm pretty sure financial growth is not the only thing. Growing, building your experience. Yes, growth, definitely. I hear that a lot from the people who reach out to me. Actually, all of my clients value growth because the clients that I work with tend to be go-getters. Peace, I love that. Professional and financial growth and learning. Wonderful. Love how you summarize that. Beautiful. Okay. So based on over, let's say, 2,000 consultation calls in the past 3.5 years, these are the responses that I've gotten from all of the people that I've spoken to one-on-one. More money, more freedom, doing what I love, more autonomy, relatedness, more time with loved ones, more decision-making power, less stress, more learning and growth, more recognition. But if I were to boil it down to that one thing, summarized by this photo of my clients. Yes, these are my actual clients. It's not a stock photo. It was part of celebrating my 2-year anniversary within my business. And if you look at that photo very closely, and I would use an adjective to describe it, one word: happiness. We all want to be happy. Whether making more money makes you happy, whether spending more time with your family makes you happy, whether more learning makes you happy, at the end of the day, why are we here? We just want to be happy. Life is too short, right? This is why the end goal is not a resume. Because if you have an amazing resume and you hate your job, who cares, right? And it's not about passing an interview or getting a recruiter to call you. The end goal is being happy in your career. Okay, that's the end goal, career happiness. And I'm going to talk to you today about that. How do we create that happiness? And I promise you, I will provide you very pragmatic tip. And by the way, the go-getters in this chat who participate the most and the ones who stay till the end, you're going to get the first 4 chapters of my book that I've written for free. Yes, I wrote a book. And I will give it away. I'll give away the 4 chapters for free if you stay till the end and if you participate. Okay, so that's my promise to you. I'm going to tell you and I'm going to show you how to find career happiness by providing you a step-by-step roadmap. Now, what makes me an authority on this? Well, let me tell you why. Okay, let me take a sip of water here because this is going to be somewhat of an emotional story. Okay, so I spent more than 34 years of my life feeling miserable. At 17, my father threw a can of car oil at me and he missed and left a dent in the wall. So in that moment, when he missed, I made an important decision. I decided to travel as far away as possible because I wanted to live. It really was that simple for me. I left everything behind because it just wasn't worth it for me to experience that trauma. The truth is, I was told my entire life that I wasn't good enough. I was bullied in school because my family wasn't rich enough. I was told by some of my teachers that I wasn't smart enough. In fact, I remember my math teacher telling me when I wanted to take college level math, because my family situation was so bad, I was trying hard to get out of it. And I was studying and studying because I wanted to get the funding to get the heck out of there. And so I tried to stretch myself and take college level math so that I can get into the best universities abroad. And I remember my math teacher telling me, you better find a shoulder to cry on because this is going to be hard for you. So that's, what I had to deal with when it comes to being told that I wasn't good enough. I also had zero friends. And sadly, I'll say that I practically didn't have a childhood. I spent most of my childhood by myself in the library studying, zero friends, constantly bullied. I didn't feel like I belonged and I felt like I was an underdog. So I hit the reset button at 18 and left my country of birth. And I landed with two suitcases on my own in Canada because I truly, simply just wanted to be happy. Now, the sad part about it, I had this dream, that North American dream, everything was going to be peachy. But I actually spent another 18 years of my life feeling miserable and dealing with even more trauma. Within, I would say, the first 3 years of my first job at one of the big 5 consulting companies, I learned that my mom got diagnosed with cancer. So I had to deal with that. And then the sad part about it is when I told my boss about it, he encouraged me to go on disability when I didn't even have the money. When I asked if I could stop traveling. And then I worked my butt off for a job, got even an award, and in the end was threatened that if I didn't relocate, I would get fired after I signed my mortgage. And that ended up causing me to lose half of my pancreas because of the amount of stress that I dealt with. Now, if that wasn't sad enough for you, then I will tell you the story of how I decided to quit over text. I pivoted my career more than 5 times, and I never felt happy in any of the jobs that I pivoted to. And so, in one of my jobs, I felt so disrespected because I was away for a day. I came back, and my peer decided to reschedule all of my meetings, only to find myself sitting by myself in a room like an idiot without my team. The amount of disrespect was just accumulating. I felt my hands were tied. I couldn't advocate for my team. I couldn't help them. It was such a toxic environment that I decided to just simply quit and leave a 6-figure salary with barely any savings and a maxed out credit card. All right. So, what I've learned throughout this journey, that my health was important, that no money in the world creates happiness. And I also realized that because of my childhood conditioning, I learned to take jobs where I felt comfortable, but I was feeling empty. And I didn't realize how empty it was because I was programmed to believe that as long as I was good at what I was doing and the money was good and I was working hard, that's all that matters. I had no concept of what it meant to enjoy my life. This background, my friend, is relevant to the feeling crappy at a job in this market because my story is about how I literally gave up everything to be happy. And the thing is, my friend, you will realize that when I quit and I had no money and I just jumped from one job to another, it didn't pay off. It didn't pay off, and I ended up with a lot more debt. So I hope that if you take away one thing out of this presentation, is to understand that your happiness is important. Thank you, Ghassan. I hope I said your name right. So through my story, what I've actually realized is doing what I love with people that I love while still feeling challenged and being myself is what I truly wanted. And the thing is, when I realized that, in the worst part of the pandemic, when we had the lockdowns, if you think that the job market is bad right now, try when it was in the middle of the pandemic and businesses were basically evacuating, businesses were not posting jobs. That was a very tough, market. But despite that, because I taught my clients and I also embrace these values of finding things that I enjoy doing with people that I love while still feeling challenged and being myself, that's when my clients started landing jobs. Here's an example. One of my clients who didn't have degree went from truck driver to agile mentor. So if you think that you need fancy degrees and certifications, then here's a myth that got busted. I also helped a client who went from no tech experience, no North American experience, a doctor, a physician who didn't want to redo her medical exams. I helped her land a product manager role at a health tech company. And I've had a client who didn't even apply for a job. No certifications, no title, never worked for any company, got a job while he was still in Mexico. So if these people can do it, I am sure that you can, all right, with the right mindset. Yes, Serena, thank you for sharing. Things are actually getting better. So you guys have the opportunity. All right, another example. One of my clients who literally spent more than 18 years in the same company. If you think that you're rusty and it's been a while since you interviewed or even created a resume, this client pretty much didn't have a resume because she's been in the same company for more than 18 years, didn't know what else she could do. I helped her not only figure out what type of job she loves doing, but I helped her actually move up and get a higher pay within the six-figure salary range as a senior manager. And I've also helped people break into people manager roles. These are a couple of examples. You can see here someone who landed a head of agile role and someone who also landed an engineering manager role. I've also been able to help more than 100 professionals in more than 7 countries land jobs that they love at all these companies that you can see. And the thing is, by helping all of these people, I figured out my sweet spot. And I am living that example for you all and role modeling it, going from invisible to a full-time CEO of my 6-figure company with more than a 26,000 following in less than 3.5 years. And back to that argument, what does that have to do with the job market being terrible and finding a crappy job? Well, guess what? I'm running a business and I'm interviewing for a job every day, and I'm competing in a saturated market full of career coaches, and I'm thriving. So if that's not convincing to you, then I don't know what would be, right? Friends, I'm not teaching you something out of a book. This is something that I applied myself and I've taught people actually achieve. So this is the reason I know what I'm talking about. So underdog me, has gone through an insane childhood, who doesn't have connections in a new country, has been able to achieve that and is constantly invited to also speak and share knowledge at large organizations, whether it's Logitech, having a conversation with Scrum.org, the CEO, a talk at Scrum Alliance, even being published in the Globe and Mail, you name it. Okay? Today I'm going to teach you how I was able to do that. And today I'm going to teach you how my clients have been able to do that so that you can thrive even in a saturated, competitive, crappy market. And my secret is those 3 M's: mindset, motivation, method. And we're going to talk about them. The mindset is what you want to achieve, and what you believe that you can achieve. The motivation is understanding your why. And of course, you have to use the right approach. And I'll dig into the right approach in terms of how to do that, whether it's the whole application tracking system myth, whether it's how do I take more than 10 years of experience and be able to decipher it and articulate it clearly and confidently so that a recruiter understands it. How do I not get ghosted? How do I build my confidence? What do I do? Should I take a certification or not? I'll be able to answer these questions by sharing with you my method if you stick around. Okay, let's talk about the different mistakes that some of you are making. And as we go through these mistakes, I will help you understand what you should be doing instead. So who here feels like they're undervaluing themselves? Anyone? Tell me in the chat if you fit into that bucket. And let me dig deeper into that bucket. Look, we've all been through toxic environments, and sometimes when we have a performance review with a boss who doesn't appreciate us, that can make us doubt ourselves. And the thing is, at organizations, sometimes what happens is more time is being spent critiquing you and telling you what you did wrong, and not enough time recognizing you. And when that happens, how do you think that affects your self-confidence? What do you think that makes you feel? Like you're not enough, that you need to constantly learn. But the reality is you're not in the right environments. You're not in supportive environments, and it's impacting your confidence. The other thing is that we are led to believe that we must check certain boxes to go after a role and succeed in it. Truthfully, a lot of it is because of the way we were raised. And I will tell you that that's how I was raised. This is why I shared with you my story, so that you understand and have more clarity on where these misconceptions and programming is coming from. As a Middle Eastern, and maybe some of you, may recognize it, maybe you fit in similar cultures, I was brought up where you need a master's degree and you need to constantly study in order to be successful. That's what I was programmed to believe. In fact, my parents during summer vacation used to assign me homework because I thought that that was going to make me successful, instead of teaching me how to be a better communicator and how to figure out what I want to do. Okay? The other thing that some of us have experienced in our childhood is we're given all these chores, and we're constantly be conditioned to work hard instead of smart. Maybe your parents have pressured you to be a doctor or engineer, and maybe you were told that if you don't do these professions, you're a failure. And what happens is that we forget to follow our heart. We become so adaptable that we become numb. We no longer ask ourselves, am I enjoying what I'm doing right now? No, okay, as long as it's, getting me paid, and as long as I'm working hard, that's what matters. And then what happens in the end is what you saw happen to me. We become sick. I just spoke to a client yesterday who shared with me how she was hospitalized because of how sick she felt from her job, how demotivated she felt. And that's not what we want to achieve, okay? The thing is, when you're not clear and laser focused on what you want to do, this is what happens. This is exactly what happens in this oversaturated market. If everyone is going after the same thing and everyone is saying the same thing, you end up like these movie posters that all look the same. So you're not giving the hiring manager a reason to pick you because there's nothing special about you, but there is. You just don't realize it because you've been conditioned through your upbringing, through society, to not pay attention to what you enjoy doing. And you're not being taught to see your uniqueness and stand out. Okay, here's what my client Rashid says, who landed at Amazon. I was worried I wouldn't be able to cash out all those years I invested in my career, especially if I didn't have the conventional title. That's what he shared with me. And after he did my program, what was taking him months and even years to figure out, he finally figured out in a couple of weeks through my program. He was able to identify his ideal job. And not only did he not start over, he actually landed as a senior product manager, not as an associate product manager, not as an intermediate product manager, as a senior product manager. So after coaching more than 200 clients inside and out of tech, I invented a proprietary model. I call it the career archetype quiz. So this career archetype quiz breaks it down into 3 buckets, what you need to figure out in order to identify your ideal job. It's not enough to figure out what types of problems you enjoy solving. That's only one component. Because guess what? If you're in a toxic environment and you love what you do, then it doesn't matter. You're still going to feel miserable. So you also need to figure out the right type of environment where you thrive that supports your collaboration style. Maybe you're an introvert and you don't want to be in too many meetings and that zaps your energy. Maybe you get energized when you're around people all the time. So you need to figure out also what your collaboration style is, and my career archetype quiz helps you answer that. And then the third component is you got to believe in the company's values and missions. Everyone has a different definition of what social impact is, and that needs to be defined for you. And only answering those 3 things do you figure out what your ideal job is. So my career archetype quiz simplifies that, and I'll talk about the career archetype quiz later on. Let's move on to the second mistake. By the way, anyone identify with undervaluing themselves? I see, I have a hard time concisely talking about my value. I see people saying yes. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about the second mistake. Providing all the information instead of the relevant information. And I see a few people sharing this, having trouble being concise. Anyone here has trouble being concise? Anyone here feels like they ramble during interviews, or when they're being asked, like, tell me about yourself, they go on and on and on and they keep adding to the answer? Yes. I see that in my clients too sometimes. And so I used to do that a lot. And I'll tell you what, even when I was building this presentation, I literally had to chop up, half of it in order to be concise, because no one wants to be overloaded with a ton of information, right? But where do you guys think that comes from? A lot of it comes from not having a North Star, not knowing your why, not knowing your ideal job. Some of you are in product. Some of you understand when we build products, we need to have a North Star. We need to have a target market segment. The thing is, when you don't know what you want, you end up sharing everything with the recruiter, hoping that some of it is going to stick, right? And this is why it's important to understand your focus. And the reason some of you feel that way is because when you're in a pressure situation and you have 2 minutes to answer an interview question, you have 1 shot at proving yourself, that anxiety leads you to give too much information, right? So what happens is you provide a mass-produced buffet of your experience. Anyone has been to a buffet, right? When you are in a buffet, the food quality is low because they're mass producing all the different food items. The variety just downgrades and dilutes the quality. What you should be doing instead is showcasing your 3 best dishes like an upscale restaurant. But I know what you guys are thinking. I don't know which experiences to choose. And that's something that I'm going to talk about, right? That's something that I definitely help people with, is picking what stories to tell. But if you get anything out of this presentation, is I want you to stop giving all of your experience in one shot. You're overwhelming the recruiter. Okay. Mistake number 3, you're too stuck in your head and lose sight of the big picture. Let me explain to you where that comes from. So here's the thing. When you're so good at what you do and you do it all the time, it becomes automatic. And I want you to pay attention to this visual, the orange box, unconscious competence. Performing the skill becomes automatic. So if you've been doing the same job for a long period of time and it has become automatic, that makes it difficult for you to break it down. Just like a grandmother who's been baking this amazing bread for many years, and you ask her, Grandma, how do you make this bread? What is your recipe? And she starts laughing at you and she's, well, I just eyeball this flour and I sprinkle, the salt, and that's how I make it, right? And that's what's going on for you. So what you're experiencing is normal. And this is actually the oxymoron, the counterintuitive part of it, is this is why you have imposter syndrome. You think that just because something comes so easy for you and you don't know how to break it down and explain to someone how you do it, you end up questioning your skill set. Okay, mistake number 4. By the way, anyone fits into this bucket? I know I have for the longest period of time. The imposter syndrome is just insane. Share with me in the chat if you fit in this bucket. I'm so curious to know how many people deal with imposter syndrome in this chat or in this live, sorry. We used to joke in my community. I used to tell people, I'm going to get you all a badge that says imposter syndrome on it because we all suffer from it. And my community is like a support group for that. I tend to see it in high achievers. Every high achiever feels that way. It's good. It's a good thing in some ways because it always pushes you to learn and grow. But at the same time, in the other extreme, it can actually cause you to undervalue yourself and undersell yourself, right? Okay. So mistake number 4. This one is going to make you curious. A lot of you think that you can write your autobiography on your own. So who knows what I mean here by autobiography? Anyone? Anyone know what I mean by autobiography? What am I calling your autobiography? What does it represent? Let's see who gets this right. Remember, the more you participate, the greater your chances of winning the first free 4 chapters of my book. So who knows what I mean when I say thinking you can write? Yes. Okay, so let's go deeper than that. Your resume is your mini career autobiography. And do you know what's so challenging, even more challenging about a resume than an autobiography? At least with an autobiography, you can have like 10 chapters or so. The challenge is that you need to condense more than 10 years of experience in 2 pages. Think about it. You probably have definitely more than 5. Most of you here have more than 10 years of experience. You've lived for more than 10 years in these workplaces. And now you have to condense them into a 2-pager. Now, any author who writes an autobiography, do you think that they write it on their own? Do you think that they write it on their own? No. Every author needs an editor, right? Every great book, behind every great book, is not just an author, but an editor. And editors are not your friends. Editors are trained professionals who question you, probe you, and demand more of you in order to ensure that your story is cohesive. An editor will ask you questions, will say, hey, this experience isn't clear. Can you tell me the backstory of what happened? Right? Just like how Will Smith has a team of editors in order to write his book. And this is why I have a storytelling boot camp where my clients hear each other's stories, get inspired by each other's stories, give suggestions on how people can change their stories. And of course, I also provide that guidance in order to uplevel the story. As an outsider, I see things that you guys might not be seeing on your resume. All right. And I just wanted to show you here an example of how one of my clients was giving someone amazing feedback on their story. Okay, beautiful. The last mistake that I want to talk about is you're being the hero instead of the guide. Okay, who knows what I mean by this? Anyone into Lord of the Rings or superhero movies? Anyone know what I mean by the hero journey? Maybe some of you are gamers. Yes? Okay, let me talk more about this. So, the funny thing is a lot of people want to be humble and they have a hard time selling themselves, but sometimes what happens is the opposite. They end up sounding salesy because they think that their job in the interview is to be the hero. But the truth is, you are not supposed to be the hero in the interview. You're supposed to be the guide. You're brought in to solve a problem for the organization, like a doctor who comes in and diagnoses what the company's doing wrong, whether you're a director of product, whether you're an agile coach, whether you are a UX designer, whether you're in operations or marketing. You are hired to help the company solve a problem. Yet a lot of you talk about me, and how great I am instead of showing the organization how you can solve their problems. Okay? So, what does a great guide do? What does a great doctor do? This isn't a trick question. Who wants to answer it? Come on. I know a lot of you have been following me for a long time and know the answer. Share with us. Let's see. What does a great guide and what does a great doctor do? Hint, hint, that's what you're supposed to do in the interview. What does a great guide and a great doctor do? What does a trusted advisor do? I'm about to give away the answer. Ask the right question. Thank you. Lead the way. Solve the problem. Oh my God, you guys are so awesome. I do get this excited during my client calls, by the way. Um, a great doctor solves problems. The thing that you all forgot, though, is that they also create a strong relationship with you so that you like them and trust them. Here's the thing. Have you ever been to a doctor that made you feel so uncomfortable that you didn't care that they're amazing at what they did? I know I have. And I will go with someone who is slightly less competent if they have better bedside manners, because I don't want to feel uncomfortable, right? So the thing is, that's what you all forget. And so you end up being scripted in interviews, you end up sounding like robots, you end up sounding rehearsed, and that's not going to help you. It has to be conversational. You have to build rapport. And this is why I'm a firm believer of TEDx methods. Sorry, it's flipped, mirror image. But when you're listening to a TEDx talk, you can see the passion, you're engaged, and that's how you need to be in an interview. And of course, if you don't love what you do, then it's going to show in the interview. If you're just taking the job for the heck of it, it's going to show in the interview, but it's also not enough to just love what you do. You got to be a great communicator. And public speaking is a muscle. I'm standing here in front of you all. I can't even see your faces, but I'm able to engage you. Why? Because I practice, because I got a lot of public speaking coaching. And that is something I definitely help my clients with. Okay, I want to show you a quick example because this is going to tie all of the concepts together. This is a little piece from someone's resume. Of course, in the past, I will tell you 6 months, I've actually reviewed more than 200 resumes. And this is a little piece from one of them. What do you notice in this resume? Does it engage you? Does it get you excited about this person? Does it make you feel like this person can solve a problem? Anyone here can share with me? Would you hire this person? Yes, no, yes, maybe. All right. Now I'm going to show you this piece of the resume. Manage product solutions that drive user adoption for early stage startup with user-facing digital consumer products to help clients up-level their career across US, Canada, Mexico, Australia. Balance costs with user needs while minimizing trade-offs. Look at the achievements. I'm showing you the impact. I'm telling you the story behind the product. Game changer. This is what I teach my clients when they build their resume. We start with the story. Once upon a time, as the founder of Unleashing Your Awesome, I decided to build a digital consumer product that would help my clients across US, Canada, Mexico, UK, and Australia because I was at the early stages of my startup and gaining user adoption was critical. So I decided to balance cost with user needs while minimizing trade-offs. And I drove user acquisition by partnering with allies within the industry, whether it was Scrum Alliance, Scrum.org, Women in Product. And I managed teams of product vendors, designers, and operations to deliver mobile apps and websites from concept to launch that would engage my clients. As a result, I achieved 90% user adoption and grew my followers from 5,000 to 17,000 within 2 years. Do you see how I'm telling a story? I feel like a nerd because, I do love, teaching people how to build resumes. When you teach it this way, it's a lot fun. But when you're stuffing it with a bunch of keywords because you're scared you're not going to pass through the ATS, when there's actually a human who's going to see your resume, then it's boring. Okay? All right. So that's how we built this. So all of you have two options today. You can take this information and you can try to implement it on your own through trial and error. If that's you, that's totally fine. You can drop off now if that's you. Option two, you can work directly with me to help you get the accountability, the mindset support, the right approach, so you can land a job faster in the right way. Okay? So who's interested in option two and is curious about what option two looks like? Let me know in the chat. If you're option one, then feel free to drop off. You can go and experiment and do your own thing. But if you're even slightly curious and you want to know how you can get stellar results, get the accountability, be part of an amazing community, then I will talk to you about option 2. Wonderful. We got a lot of curious and yes and sure. Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about the proudest program that I've ever built in the history of my business. If you thought that the wins that my clients have been achieving, the miracles, whether it's, going from being a truck driver to working at a top gaming company, or even, not having Canadian or US experience and landing at jobs like Red Hat and Amazon, this program takes everything that I've learned from all of the clients that I taught, what worked and discarded what didn't work, and puts it in this program. And I'm so excited to talk to you about this. Truly, I am. I'm so excited. I've been pumped all day to share this with you. There are 3 pillars that I believe that make every single human being successful in their career. 1, define your purpose. We talked about the North Star. 2, express your purpose, being able to express why you're the right solution to someone's problems. And 3, selling your purpose by honing in your public speaking skills, because no one is just going to read a piece of paper and hire you based on that, right? Okay. So the reason I want to talk to you about this program is because I want you to say goodbye to financial stress. I don't want you to go through the health issues I went through. I don't want you to go through the toxicity that I went through. And I want you to get peace of mind. All right? I used to charge more than $5,000 for a program like this, but I have dialed it in and made it so efficient that today I'm going to present it to you at a bargain, way less than $5,000. And I'm going to break it down and explain to you what you're going to get. So the first thing that you're going to get is you're going to get my proprietary assessment called the Career Archetype Quiz. This is not one of those multiple choice things that you do in 5 minutes, okay? This is an in-depth, holistic assessment that looks at your work style personality, goes through your entire career, every single job that you've done in more than 10 years. It's going to look at your strengths. It's going to look at your weaknesses. It's not some fluffy thing that's going to tell you, yeah, you can launch a rocket to the moon. It balances feasibility. Yes, you can do this today so that you don't have to take another loan and go back to school because no one wants to do that. And it leverages what you already have and your uniqueness. This career archetype quiz is normally valued at $1,000, but I'm throwing it in as a bonus. Here's an example of a client who did the career archetype quiz. He has been put back into a career trajectory that gets him back to the 250 to 500,000 mark. He was wasting a lot of money on certifications, chasing basically a path that was the wrong path for him. And thank goodness, we got him back to not straying from his natural gifts. We did all of the exercises. The light bulb went off and he landed an offer within 3 weeks of my program. Okay? This is the amount of feedback that I give people. This is not like do it yourself, you do a quiz and it spits out an answer. Like a doctor who orders blood work, who orders an ultrasound, who orders an MRI. I sit there like a mad scientist. I analyze all of your results and I give you a detailed interpretation of them along with choices in terms of jobs so that we can narrow them down and you go after the right opportunities. And you can figure this out as fast as 1 week, okay? This is why the price is no longer $5,000, because I've been able to do this efficiently with people due to my level of experience and the amount of clients I worked with and the variety of clients ranging from entry level all the way to VP level in all kinds of professions within and outside of tech. Okay. This is not like jumping on a coffee chat and picking a job based on what worked for someone else when they don't understand you, when they don't spend enough time to know what you enjoy or have different values than you. Okay, this is a professional assessment and is based on the data and patterns that I observed across more than 200 clients based on those buckets that I've shared with you. Not only are you going to get that assessment and professional interpretation, but you're going to get the emotional support to go through this journey, the accountability, and the reassurance in order to motivate you to stretch yourself and go for those challenging roles. And that's what my clients share with me. Here's an exact quote from a client. Your program helped me feel accountable while I was on my job search, which was the discipline I needed. I know you've mentioned how important it is to have grit, but then also have a community to keep you accountable is so important, which is what the program gave me. Okay, the second part of the program. We are going to help you, I'm going to help you prove that you are able to solve a company's problems by mapping your experience to their needs. This is not just about resume and things like that. Those are just tools. You got to learn how to do this and communicate it. That's the root cause of the problem. Once we solve that problem, it's going to translate to your resume and it's going to translate to your interviews. Here are a few myth busts from actual recruiters who use the application tracking system instead of people who are lying to you because they want to sell you resume services. A VP who is a hiring manager. 3 things I've learned and want to remind job seekers, having seen the process on the back end. Real humans are reading your application and looking at your resume. Bots in the ATS, mostly a myth. Another senior technical recruiter. Bots are mostly a myth. Career and resume experts are using to try and drum up business or have never used an ATS as a recruiter. Look, I'm going to be real with you. I could share with you these lies. It would be a lot easier for me. I don't need to work hard. I don't need to listen to your stories and iterate on them 3,000 times. I could just give you a bunch of templates. You can put a bunch of keywords and I could charge you $1 gazillion. But that's against my values. All right? So it's your choice what you want to believe. Check your sources. Is this coming from someone who used an application tracking system and saw the back end? Or is it someone who's trying to sell you a service? Here's another example of a hiring manager. HR does a first pass of looking through resumes with my guidance on what criteria I'm looking. Nowhere is there automation. That is an urban myth. The only time anything is programmed is if there's a question on the application asking you if how many years of experience you have or your salary range or if you're eligible to work without sponsorship. Okay? All right. So, how do we help you map your experience? I want you to see this visual. That's exactly how. We take the brain dump of your experience, we sort it by competencies, we map it to hiring manager requirements, we visually represent it in the resume, and we use it to write your interview stories. But the common denominator, the building block that we work on, the Lego piece is your story. We approach it from a storytelling perspective versus a boring resume template perspective. So, what you're also going to get is my story building system, which is used by the billion-dollar movie industry to make movies exciting and interesting. You're also going to get a repository of my videos. You're going to get all the hard work I did to analyze different job criteria and boil them down, especially within product and agile, so you're not guessing. So you know what criteria you need to meet, whether you're intermediate, senior, or VP level. This on its own is valued at $1,000. And because I'm a firm believer that what gets people stuck is actually remembering what they've done and brainstorming, you also get my flashcards, my storytelling flashcards. Now, I want to share with you that a competitive flashcard organization that has nothing to do with careers charges $250 for a set of flashcards. So I know that my flashcards are worth a lot more than $200, and those are included in the program. On top of that, I like to keep my group small. I'm not into getting a herd of people and treating them like numbers, and then they come out of my program without a resume, without getting anything done. My groups are limited to 10 people max. And I work with you over 8 weeks to take you from figuring out what you want to building your resume and your stories, to your LinkedIn profile, to all of your marketing assets, to your interviews, to offer negotiation, all of that. Basically, more than 8 hours of live coaching to work on your stories, valued at $1,000. Do the math. Okay, the average that a coach charges per hour is between 100 and 200. So that's the value that's included. You're also going to get unlimited one-on-one support. You can see here that my clients constantly share that I'm always fast at getting back to them, that I'm giving incredible detailed feedback. So that on its own is worth more than $1,000 over an 8-week period. Not only that, this is not just some group coaching program. This is actually a hybrid one-on-one program where you're going to get on a call with me, you and me. We're going to get on a call. We're going to dissect your resume, and we're going to make sure that it's pristine so that when you apply for jobs, you actually get interviews, not get ghosted. You can see here the before and after transformation of someone's resume. And you can see here, you probably saw my post from today, how a client told me that she literally got 3 recruiters reaching out to her and she got her resume done just last week. And a client of mine who got an offer and was given feedback on how amazing her resume looks like. Just so you know, I'm actually a certified resume writer and a master career coach, and I've helped develop a curriculum for resume writers. So I know how to teach you how to build your resume versus be like a resume writing shop, write your resume, give it to you, and then you're like, oh my God, how did you come up with this? I don't even recognize myself. My approach is a collaborative process. And my approach is to teach you how to fish instead of feed you. Because if we don't work on you improving your communication, and I just go and sit there and write your resume for you, I'm doing you a disservice. You're never going to learn how to vouch for yourself. How are you going to manage performance conversations with your boss? How are you going to navigate a networking conversation if you don't have stories that you can tell? Right? And then the last piece is I'm going to teach you how to tell your story with executive presence, just like a TEDx speaker, to land your offer, right? Because no one's going to want to work with someone who's supposed to be going for a leadership role and doesn't have that executive presence, not able to complete sentences, stalls, isn't concise, rambles, gets terrified during interviews. We want to solve that. And how we solve that is by you practicing, not watching a bunch of videos. So not only are you going to learn how to answer all of the questions through my video library, which is worth more than $1,000, but through the small groups, you're actually going to get to practice over and over and over again. You're going to get corrective feedback. You're going to be inspired by other people's stories. And that's how you're going to become a better speaker. Think of it like Toastmasters, but for job seekers. All right? And of course, you're going to get line by line feedback on each of your stories in between sessions. I'm not one of those coaches where, oh yeah, We get on this call, we answer your questions. Don't bug me after that call. You're actually part of a community where you can post questions and you get answers in between sessions, as well as get live one-on-one feedback during sessions. Okay, so I'm going to break it down for you. The career archetype quiz is valued 1,000. The entire story building system, I will say 52 videos part of my library. And by the way, if you're in product and you're in UX, you also get my system on how to build a product portfolio and how to crack the case study. Okay? All of that is definitely more worth than 1,000. The 8 weeks of small group coaching, which is more than 16 hours, is worth over 1,600. The one-on-one accountability, the one-on-one sessions, and the feedback to finalize your resume and your interviews, more than 1,000. That usually is over 4,600. But today, if you go on my website and you book a career diagnosis with me or DM me right after this session, then I'm giving a Black Friday discount and I'm reducing it to $2,000 for an 8-week program. Think about it logically, okay? If you don't have a job, you're going to make a minimum of $5,000 a month. Even if, let's say, which is insane, you're not going to make $2,000 a month, you're going to easily recover that amount in less than a month, okay? And if you're already employed, I will tell you that I've helped my clients add up to $50,000 on top of their salary. So you're definitely going to get that return on investment. I want to show you something. This is a resume writing service that charges between $1,500 to $3,900 just for a resume. I'm not going to charge you that just for a resume. I'm going to actually make sure that you pick the right opportunity for you. And I'm going to give you the guidance and reassurance as you go through that journey, as well as learn how to do this yourself, and not just your resume, but your interview too. Here's another example, a coaching program that charges close to $10,000. I'm definitely not charging you that. And I know that my program is worth that or more, but I want to give people a break because I want people to be happy. And that is the reason I'm charging you and giving you this bargain. All right? So if you're in, send me a DM to LinkedIn and I will drop my consultation call now that you know the prices. I no longer have the bandwidth to basically get on a million calls with people with 26,000 followers. So this is a limited opportunity to get on a call with me one-on-one. Otherwise, after today, it's going to be one of my team members and I won't be honoring the $2,000 discount. Okay? So if you want to do this, definitely send me a DM to my LinkedIn. This is a limited time offer. This is a steal. And I invite you to go into my LinkedIn, to my recommendations page. You can take a look at all the wins. If you are even a little bit curious, it's not going to hurt you, right, to get on a call with me and ask me questions. Anything that you're worried about, that type of thing. And by the way, if you're thinking 2 months is a long time, which some of you might be thinking, what I'll tell you is I've had people who said it was too long and then came back to me saying, oh my goodness, I have suffered the consequences for another 5 or 6 months. Please let me into your program. Don't get to the point of no return where it becomes even harder for you and you become more unemployable, right? So that's my advice. Do it the right way so that you save time in the long run, or do it the wrong way, end up in a job that sucks your soul, and you end up with even more debt, which is what happened to me. And within the 4 weeks, actually, is when people start applying for jobs, because the first part of the program is getting that resume done within the first 4 weeks. And people generally apply after the 4 weeks. Between 3 to 4 weeks, they start applying for jobs with a new resume where they feel confident. And then at the end, and then between week 5 and 8, that's when it's amazing because you're getting interviews, we're practicing, you're able to ask me. I had a client who jumped on a call with me yesterday because he was terrified of what to say to an organization because he had, a basically work permit, criteria. And I gave him the strategy, that the exact script that he needed to tell the recruiter to navigate that situation. Imagine if that person didn't have the opportunity to talk to me and he said the wrong things. He would have missed an amazing opportunity. It would have impacted his livelihood. He would, it would impact his ability to stay in the country. So that's what you get when you're working with a professional. It saves you headaches and heartache. All right. Let me know, friends, if you have any questions. I know we have a minute left. I'm here for you if you have more questions. If you want to hop on a call with me, please DM me right after this live, because tomorrow I will be, as someone who's a CEO, I have to delegate, but I wanted to do this special thing for you all because you are all dear to me as followers. I know a lot of you have been following me for a while, so I'm giving you that limited, discount as a thank you for following me, as an incentive. We only have less than 2 months, right? Less than 2 months before the year ends. Let's end it strong, friends. Let us end it strong. All right, my friends, I hope you have a fabulous evening. And don't be shy. If you have any questions, reach out to me. And I hope you have an amazing, amazing evening. Thank you so much for listening.